You mentioned before that you had this massive house and you were alone in this mansion and you're like, I gotta get out of here, or I gotta clean this place up. And that ended up with you downsizing. And that was the importance and the practice of minimalism. Why did
Yes.
that play such an important role in your life?
Man, it was timing again. In the Life Back, you'll read the open really starts with this dramatic, series of events that took place when I retired in 2015. And I spent a year going to court and I spent a year just circling around a lot of negativity. And what I learned about the industry at that time is being as successful as I was in porn and making the decision to retire without telling anyone really backfired in my face.
Mm,
And it came from every level. So what I learned was it's almost like trying to get out of a gang.
mm,
Gang leaders do not want a gang member to reinvent themselves.
mm.
They're not going to make money off of that person anymore. That person's not going to be working for them on the street anymore. And so the industry is very much like a gang, and that's just a lack of education and it's a fearfulness, but all the way from the companies who turned on me because they realized, "Oh, we're not going to make money off of her. How could she leave? She's the most popular girl in the industry. We were making so much money off her. She cut off. Like I closed the drain." And then the talent will retaliate in a sense that, oh, you feel you're better than us now. So you're leaving because you think it's like, no, I did this for almost fucking 30 years of my life. Like I was just ready to do something new. Like I
Crazy.
was not feeling the joy. I was becoming more aware of the risks to my health. I was becoming in my 40s. I was like, is this really how you want to go down? Each time there'd be a positive HIV case, each time there'd be an STD that was treatable but not curable going around in the industry, I would start to think to myself, like, at what point have you made enough money that your health is more important? And so I kept having these conversations. And I will say, my last couple of years shooting, I would have this voice that would come into my head while I'd be sitting in traffic. And it would be like, today's the day you're going to get something that you're going to have for the rest of your life. And that is a heavy weight. And nobody cared about that heavy weight. So I dealt with this darkness and I went through this severe depression of just like being a shut in for a year. So I was a shut in for the entire year of 2016. And I needed that year. I needed that year to be still. I had been traveling since about 1990. I had been doing all of the things in the industry and going all over the world and constantly busy and constantly putting more things in my schedule and constantly, constantly, constantly. And so that sudden slam of the door and that forcing me to be still, it really made me take inventory in myself. And so to pass the time, and I will suggest this to anyone who goes through a depressed time in their life, we're all going to go through them and you're going to make it to the other side. And every morning when you wake up, you tell yourself, I'm one day closer to making it to the other side. But I eliminated alcohol.
Mm.
So I was sitting in my living room one day and I had this liquor cabinet that was really pretty. It was glass and I was filled with liquor and glasses. And I remember thinking like, well, that can't stay. So I took a picture of it that day and I texted it to a friend who has a house that he shoots content in. And he had this blank space behind me in photos that always irritated me. And I said, "Yo, Chris, this liquor cabinet, this will look awesome in that blank space behind your stairs that always irritates me. Come and pick it up." And I'm like, "You have to take the liquor, the glasses, the everything that is on this thing because I don't trust myself with it. Alcohol is a depressant." And I knew that that was not what I wanted to be doing. I'd smoke weed, I'd sit and pass the time, but I told myself, like, look, if watching TV for 8 hours a day is what you want to do right now, you're at least going to watch educational TV.
Mm.
So I did all like, since I wasn't traveling, I watched House Hunters International. Oh, that narrator's voice is so soothing. And I loved learning about all these different countries and the food. So that was my splurge show. But I watched every documentary on Netflix, every documentary on Hulu, and I stumbled across minimalism. And so I realized that that liquor cabinet that I could see from the couch where I'd watch TV and I could see into my dining room, that was more significant than I realized because that was the first step of removing a layer of my life. And so that documentary, then I ordered their books. Josh and Ryan, great writers. I love them. I've been on their podcast. They've been on my podcast. I'm a huge fan. And I went down that rabbit hole of Marie Kondo. So I was like, okay, you've got nothing but time. I stopped watching TV and I started one room at a time in my house. I had a 4-floor house. It was 4,000 square feet. Every closet was packed. Everything, every space had something in it. Years of doing award shows, years of doing trade shows. So I just started with like my master closet, took every single thing out and made a deliberate decision of what was going back in, and then was able to make a decision. Oh, I wore that outfit in a scene for Brazzers. Let me go and list it up online and sell it to a fan.
Mm.
So then there became this like earning potential, like, holy shit, I'm making money here. I'm selling things. I would see clothes and I'd be like, okay, Google yourself Lisa Ann yellow dress. There's the photos. I'm stealing those photos. I'm printing them out with the order because they would get a signed set of 4 photos. And it became this thing. A lot of things I gave away to friends. I would take pictures of things, give away whatever I could get rid of, I got rid of. And through that pursuit of minimalism, which I gave myself a full year. It took me 2 years from that. 2016 was dark. 2017 I started really doing it. 2019 my house was so empty. It was so easy to sell because it looked bigger than it was, because every closet was pretty much empty other than my master. But that also gave me a better understanding of kind of the hamster wheel I was on.
Mm.
Though I was saving money, I could have been saving a lot more money the entire time I was in the industry. But because I felt I had to have a new outfit every time I went to a show, every time I did an appearance, every time I was on set, I had accumulated way too much shit. And that gave me an understanding of how I would live my future life.
Mm.
I would be more mindful with my purchases. I would not just buy shit to buy shit. And I also realized I was filling a void. And we buy things because we think stuff is going, it's a habit. You know, you have a day off, like let's go walk around the mall. That used to be a thing. Like I can't tell you when the last time I walked around a mall. You know, it changed my life in so many ways. And my kitchen was like the craziest because I had all this stuff that I had bought off of like late night infomercials. Um, I had a toaster and I don't even eat bread. You know what I mean? Like I had so much stuff because I had space for it. So my kitchen, I took everything out and I did it like the minimalist suggested.
Mm.
For a month, I would put things back that I was using. And then after that month, whatever I didn't use, I donated to Goodwill.
Mm.
And it took days upon days of filling my car, which was down 3 flights of stairs to my underground park to fill the car. Luckily, Goodwill was right down the street. Drop, go back, do it again, do it again. But that experience made me a better person.
Mm.
And so sometimes the worst things, we think the worst thing just happened to us. And when you're in it, it is the worst thing.
Mm.
But when you realize why it happened to make me be still and to know that when I was going to take the full step in reinventing my new life, that all of my bad habits with spending money were going to be broken, with all of my insecurities of having to have a new outfit, not being able to repeat the same dress, you know, all of those things were so trivial, but it was what I did.
Mm.
And so that just made me go, you know what? I think you could live in like a less than 1,000 square foot apartment now in New York City completely fine. Like you could have never considered that. I mean, I had 2 places. I had a studio in New York and a home in LA. And then I realized like I could live in a studio full time now. And now when I buy something, I get rid of something. So if I'm not willing to get rid of something, I can't buy something.
Mm.
And so I've continued to live a very minimalistic life. And it makes your life so much easier. You don't spend days on days redoing your garage or fixing up your closet because you have too much stuff. You don't spend your free time managing stuff because you don't have too much stuff.
Mm. That's beautiful. The first step of that was cutting out alcohol. Do you still not drink alcohol?
I started drinking again after 2 years.
Wow.
But I just drink casually. I'm not a big drinker. I do have the Italian mindset, and I am releasing wine this year. I partnered with a winery in Sicily, so I'm releasing my own wine. I do believe in the red wine before bed theory. I do, and so I'll have a glass of wine when I'm
Love it.
watching TV. I really enjoy it. I try not to drink hard alcohol, but you know, you have those nights in Vegas where you're out with the right people, and next thing you know, you've had too much drink, and it's fun.
Yeah.
But I don't drink hard alcohol at home. I just knew at that time, like when you're going through something, you have to be self-aware enough
Mm.
that you go, what could be really double layer destructive here? What
Yeah.
could make this worse? I felt like alcohol would have made it worse because I had too much free time And weed doesn't affect me the same way. I would smoke to just not have my brain going, and to make me relax enough to be still. But so I wove drinking back into my life, but it's not a constant. And I might have like 4 benders a year where it's like that night in Vegas where you're like, how did we end up drinking 10 old fashions? Why am I so hungover? But they're memorable nights. Why did I wake up in the spare bedroom of my suite? Why am I in the twin and not my king size bedroom, which did happen to me earlier this year. Um, but I made those decisions, and I think it's important to be self-aware and to know when like some people would eat more.
Mm.
That's time where you don't want to have bad food in your house. Like whatever it is that you might lean on too much, knock it aside until you're ready to do it properly.
Yeah, no, I love that.